Welcome into Hittin Hard with Jon Chuckery here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Today on the show, talks supposedly have stalled between the Hawks and Hunter. Goldman leaves a hole in the Falcons' defensive line, and the Braves only have the fifth best betting odds right now. Does it mean anything? We'll talk about all that. It's Hittin Hard with Jon Chuckery on Locked On Sports Atlanta.
This is Hittin Hard with Jon Chuckery, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, and it starts now.
Welcome into Hittin Hard with Jon Chuckery here in Locked On Sports Atlanta. We head over to youtube.com. We're asking you to go there, find Locked On Sports Atlanta in your search browser. When you get there, hit that subscribe button, leave us a comment. Of course, free and available on all of your favorite podcast platforms, including Spotify and Odyssey. And of course, follow me on my personal Twitter page at JMCH16. So I came across a report yesterday. Now, I'm going to try to source this properly, and here's why I say this. So, a guy that I have on my radio show a lot, Kurt Heelan, his Basketball Talk website, put out a report that the Hawks and DeAndre Hunter are about $20 million apart on a contract extension. Now, when I open up the article, this talks about from Jake Fisher of Bleacher Report. And he says, quote, early indications are that Atlanta and Hunter have not found much progress in extension talks, where both sides stand roughly $20 million apart on salary terms over a 4-year deal, sources said. Now, why am I talking about the idea of sourcing this? Because when I read, first off, that it was Jake Fisher, who, of course, is part of the blue checkmark media, who also said that John Collins was getting traded on draft night. And then it was, no. I mean, they're not, they're going to hang on him for now, but they are eventually going to trade him. Yeah, Collins is still here and he ain't going anywhere. But again, I understand that now the rationale will be, well, the Hawks have been trying to trade John Collins. Okay, that's a lot different than declarative. They're going to trade him on draft night, than declarative that they are going to move him in the offseason. But anyway, so I want you to understand the source before I talk about this, because again, the blue checkmark media that hasn't gotten anything right about the Hawks offseason. And the Murray thing came out of left field. Nobody was talking about that before. And it happened like in 3 days, Murray deal done. And obviously the whole John Collins, he's going away, he's getting traded, blah, blah, blah. They want to move him, blah, blah, blah. Okay, none of that happened. So do I believe that Hunter and the Hawks are some money apart? Yes. That's always the way a negotiation is. And we talked about this a few weeks ago right here on the podcast about the idea of what is it going to take to sign DeAndre Hunter and how much is a fair deal. And I talked about Mikal Bridges and the fact that he got $90 million for 4 years, right? He got 22 and a half or whatever it was per year. And I don't think Hunter is in that range. Doesn't play enough games. He's not a first-team all-defensive player. But if you're looking for somebody to compare that you hope Hunter can be. And I also didn't believe that Hunter was going to just sign for $11 or $12 million the way that some early reports were coming out, that he would that he would get a 4 for 44, 40 type of deal. Now, we'll talk more about the numbers here in just a second and why $20 million doesn't have to make you panic at all. But let me talk about my friends here real quick at BetOnline.net. They're sponsoring the show here today. Of course, last night you had the All-Star game taking place. Major League Baseball season is going to get cranked up really hardcore coming up just in a couple of days. Thursday, some teams have double headers already scheduled for Thursday. So baseball's in full swing. You just finished up your last major of golf. You still got golf tournaments going on. You got MMA. You got boxing. You got lots of stuff that's going on. And oh yeah, don't look now. We're literally right around the corner from football season, full go, right? We got teams already in training camp. Training camp for the Falcons starts next week. We got a lot going on. There's plenty of things to bet on. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting needs in your sports information. It's a fast, easy way, easy to use on the website. Use it on your mobile device, right? You want to find your information. You want to find podcast information. You want news. All of it is right there at betonline.net, your source for all things betting and sports information. They've got live betting. They got esports. They got scores. They got all your odds and everything on there. BetOnline.net is the best way to go about. Easy, simple, fast, quick, best way to bet online. And obviously, listen, we appreciate the fact that they're big sponsors here on the show, but they can't make it any easier. Want you to head over to betonline.net today. Get in on the wagering. It's where the game starts. So when I read reports about $20 million apart over 4 years, okay, that's $5 million per year. Now, think about what I just said, right? That early reports were the Hawks wanted to be in the $11 or $12 million range. And then I said, well, Bridges was a guy that, is on the top end playing the same position that got 90 million, right? So you got 20, somewhere 22 and a half. Okay. That's $10 million of gap right there. So it makes sense. So $20 million for us in the real world, right, is a ridiculous amount of money. In the world of sports, $5 million a year is not a big sticking point from a negotiation standpoint. I said before, I didn't think it would be 12 million. I figured it'd be probably somewhere 14, 15 million. Okay, so that's 3 million more, let's say, on the top end. Instead of 12, it's 15. That's 3 out of 5. Okay, that's probably about where it will be. So number one is, don't panic about the idea of DeAndre Hunter signing an extension. Number two is, don't get hung up on, it's $20 million. And number three, more important than anything, is take with a grain of salt. When I say a grain of salt, I mean like one of those big salt cubes that weighs like 60 pounds that anybody in the blue media is going to get something right about the Atlanta Hawks. Actually, anything right about the, Atlanta sports scene in general, but certainly when it comes to the Hawks. In the immortal words, as I'm wearing my Hulkamania shirt, in the immortal words of Gorilla Monsoon, everybody in the blue checkmark media, to be honest with you, is a fountain of misinformation. Because I'm not getting anything out of those people that tells me about what the Hawks are doing, where they're going, blah, 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 blah. So don't get concerned about the idea that Hunter and the Hawks, oh God, they're $20 million apart. That's nothing. In the grand scheme of things, the $20 million is nothing. And they'll meet somewhere in the middle, and this deal will get done. And DeAndre Hunter will be an Atlanta Hawk, at least under contract, for the next handful of years. And again, we've talked a lot about on this show, look, he's one of the guys that has to take that big next step forward. It's awesome that they got Murray. That changes up the complexion of this team. But going to get where they want to be, number one, Capella, Collins, Hunter all have to be healthy this year. They can't be 56, 58, 60 game players. Everybody needs to be 70, 72, 75 games played. That's number one. And number two is Hunter has to become that two-way player that they drafted him at number 4 overall. He has to be that defensive stopper and give them, I don't know, if he told me he could get us 15, 16 a night, I'd take that. Could he be 15, 16 points a night, 5 boards, and be a shutdown defender? I'd take that. I'd take that. And even if he's not first team all defense NBA like Bridges, that puts him in that kind of category of those kinds of two-way players. So I'm not panicked. I'm not concerned about what I'm seeing from the Atlanta Hawks in a report like this, because I know the blue checkmark media is basically not going to get anything right. But this deal will get done pretty quickly. And don't worry, Hunter's going to be a Hawk for a few years. Now it's a matter of whether or not he can step up his game and get something done. All right, when we come back, the Falcons, have a hole on their defensive line after news we got yesterday. It's up next on Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery on Locked On Sports Atlanta.